said yes to hosting the Next Stage today, never did I think I would be introducing such design superstars. We have two amazing groups of designers back to back. This is really epic. Thank you, Middleby Residential, for bringing this to us on the stage today. Leading this discussion with is the fabulous William Hanley, editor-in-chief of Dwell. And now let's welcome to the stage Martyn Lawrence Ballard, Suzanne Kassler, and Matthew Quinn.
Well, thanks everybody for coming. I'm William Hanley. I'm the editor-in-chief of Dwell magazine, and I'm really happy to be sitting here with Martyn, Suzanne, and Matthew, three remarkable designers in doing very different work, but really exciting work. And so when they asked us to do this, they sent us a list of topics we had to cover. They included AI, social media, and various other thorny topics, and they said you have half an hour. So we'll try to touch on as much as we can, but I wanted to start just by asking everybody what's new, kind of what are you working on right now, what are some of the things that you're excited about. We were supposed to talk about design trends. I really hate doing that. I like to think that we cover work and you do work that's relatively timeless, and we're not necessarily focused on what's just of the moment for the moment. But I'd love to know a little bit about what you're thinking about, what you're working on, new projects. We can start wherever. Matthew, why don't you go?
Sure. Okay. I think what's happening right now with me is I just launched a new modern range for La Cornue. You can see that at West 1601. Just debuted in America, and I'm really excited about that. And my third book launches July 4th. And just keeping very busy all over the world, doing really fun projects and collaborating with designers like Suzanne.
And what's exciting about the new product? Can you kind of describe what you're debuting, what you were thinking about when you were working on it?
I mean, I'm honored that La Cornue, this iconic brand, asked an American designer to design a modern version of it. So I kind of stripped some of the adornment off of it, left the heritage part. You still know it's a La Cornue. Introduced some new hammered metals, and it's the only range where you can mix two finishes together, like two colors together. So that makes it really fun for the specifiers, the homeowners, the designers, the architects to have a lot of fun with it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and I mean, is mixing materials like that something that you're kind of interested in?
It's like my brand. Yeah, it's a brand for me. Yes.
Fantastic. And Suzanne, we'll just go down the line. What are you working on? What are you showing? What are you? What various parts of the world are you designing projects in?
Well, this has been a really busy and exciting time in the interior design world, as you all know. That's why we see so many of you here to see all the new innovation that's happening. I also am doing a collection with La Cornue, and what I do for La Cornue, it's about color, and I have the most beautiful new color that they're featuring called Montag. It's kind of the color of my scarf. I matched my booth. And I think it's been interesting also. I launched my fourth book last spring, and it's been, we're signing books today. But I do think in the interior design world, it's interesting how globally connected, and we're all doing work all over. And I see designers and my friends and all of us sharing and connecting in a different way than I ever have. And next week, we're going to go to a site visit to Bermuda. So the best thing about being in this part of the world of interior design, we do get to go to the most beautiful places everywhere in the country.
Fantastic, yeah. The color is great, and I love that you coordinated with the work too. That's bonus points for your trip to KBIS. Can you talk a little bit about kind of the palettes you're working with lately? Again, don't love the word trend, but what are you thinking about? And what colors can we expect to see in your interiors, or that you're excited about seeing more broadly?
Well, personally, my color palette has kind of a quiet elegance about it. I probably look at color in a strategic way as being a composition of the architecture and interiors. So when I do color, I would call quieter colors usually, and yet because I love white so much, they really do make a really stand out. They really have, people talk about me with color, but my colors, I would say, would be a little bit more quiet elegance.
You can make something neutral
Yes.
pop against
Yes.
against a white. That's a great way of
But I do
describing
think trends, we are all influenced by the fashion, and we love bringing fashion in. And one of the things in my book, which surprises people, I have this really beautiful, very intense yellow drapery down a very quiet hallway. So I do think all of us bring fashion into that world, even though I do have a quieter color palette usually.
And Martyn, are you working on something influenced by fashion right now, or what do you have? What are you up to?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, let's just touch on color, because ever since COVID, people have embraced color more than ever. They sat at home in their miserably boring cream and beige living rooms and realized, you know what, I need something exciting in my life. And so color is really bursting into the forefront. Wallpaper, being a designer that has 3 wallpaper collections, wallpaper is the biggest selling item in design right now.
I believe it.
Everybody is wallpapering in the world, thank God, because I get a commission on some of it. But it's really a massive trend, which is showing great instant personality bursts into the home. Now, and the fun thing, like here at KBIS, you're going to see a lot of color going on all these various stands. I mean, for us, all of us have collections of ranges with La Cornue. Both Suzanne, but all 3 of us actually have some wild colors in the mix with those, which is really fun to add that pop, that personality, that spice into your kitchen again. And that, I think, is really wonderful. And I'm not going to call it a trend, I'm going to call it an evolution. It's a way to really add your own personality into the experience. Now, I obviously work with a lot of wild personalities. At the moment, I'm doing Pink, I'm doing Machine Gun Kelly, I think we have Cardi B in the mix. So you know, my clients are pretty wild, but I also have amazing fashion clients, people like Tommy Hilfiger, people that are constantly evolving because they're designing 3 or 4 collections a year. And so they're used to this sort of wondrous experiment of what's new and what's bold. And so fashion definitely goes hand in hand with interiors and vice versa today. We're all in that new world. I have a flooring collection with Du Chateau, which is also being exhibited on the Middleby stand. And we have these beautiful colors that, you know, I wouldn't say they're trendy colors, they're classic colors that have come back into the forefront of the world right now. These beautiful warm tones. And that's really exciting. But what we're seeing, and all of us are seeing, is a return to traditionalism.
Yeah.
So these mid-century modern interiors, these rooms with 1 plant and a white fridge, are now having antique pieces of furniture dropped in. Beautiful things like I have these new parquet floors with Du Chateau that are a traditional nod, yet they're being mixed into modern interiors.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely like a swing back from what I always joke is Blandinavian design, like a kind of a neutral oatmeal minimalism that, you know, doesn't really, it's just, you know, I see people being more expressive lately. I'm glad you brought up wallpaper too, because, you know, we see all kinds of patterns, textures, colors, like, you know, people aren't necessarily fearful of a little decoration in the way that, you know, they might have been. And, you know, in terms of style, pattern, like, you know, from the perspective of the wallpaper you're doing, Martyn, or just in general, like, what are you excited about? Like, you know, are we talking something traditional? Are we talking something more aggressive and contemporary?
I'm excited because young people are grasping onto the idea of almost Victoriana, which sounds crazy, but you're seeing almost like Jeffrey Benison did in the 80s, these big cabbage roses, these wonderful sort of florals, these amazing tree of lives, these sort of Indian florals. We're seeing that brought back into life again. but not the way it was in the
Okay.
80s. We're seeing it with color, we're seeing it with scale, we're seeing it with an explosion of sort of new energy. And young people, I have a bunch of clients that are in their 20s right now, mostly entertainment industry people, but they all want this mix. They all want these new, fabulous, to them, new, fabulous expressions that is really fun. The 80s is really big, as you know.
Oh, for sure.
Like we're all wearing sort of 80s as well in the mix now.
Oh, sure.
80s has hit fashion, 80s is hitting interiors. From Carl Springer to the Jeffrey Benison vibe.
That's a really good way of putting it. It's expressive, and that's, you know, people aren't afraid of that, and I've been seeing that a lot as well. I mean, Matthew, when you're working on a product that's, you know, used in all sorts of different contexts, you know, how do you think about adding a strong degree of personality to the work while also having it be an effective element in a lot of different contexts?
Well, I mean, I think you got to figure out the permanence of it. I think people tend to be a little more brave when it comes to maybe a second or third home. But a primary residence, I think you just have to really, I think art, I think carpets, I think other, besides a wildly patterned floor in a master bathroom, or being a little careful as far as the selection of stone for a kitchen. But I think Martyn's absolutely correct. I mean, people are being more expressive than ever. I think social media does have something to do with that they're being more exposed to great projects, as long as they're following great designers. But I'm all for it, and just Suzanne and I are kind of in the same DNA as far as the timelessness part of it. So that's always a question after a selection to make sure, okay, what's the shelf life of this? If it's a second and third house, I don't really question that at all, but a primary residence, I do spend more time on it.
Right, there has to be something enduring about the primary residence, whereas a lot of people are much more comfortable splashing out with, in terms of, you know, we see that in terms of both interiors and certainly architecture as well, too. You know, it's a lot of, there's an expressiveness, people are unafraid when they've done it once, basically.
But we're seeing this really embracing of color and cabinetry, and people are being more willing to make a statement in certain areas. We might take a piece, like maybe we're doing a whole room of cabinets, as Matthew was saying, and then we'll do something really strong. And regarding the wall covering, when I was working on last year the flower show house, there were 52 rooms, and at the last minute I decided to wallpaper my ceiling of the living room that was maybe 40 by, I think it was 80, no, it wasn't maybe 80 feet, but 60 feet long, with a really geometric wall covering in the ceiling, because every room has been wallpapered. And at the Kips Bay Show House in Palm Beach, I was just there last weekend, and if you go in each of the rooms, the inspiration of color and wallpaper, it's really, people are really loving that. And our clients, even we're doing a project in Denver that is a pretty tailored house, and we are doing one of those, as Martyn said, they're scaling up the color. It's flowers and green, but it fits in these special places. And I think you're all seeing it, and even with the cabinetry. So design is having the creative part. People are wanting their own imprint and their own reflection of their personality in our interiors. In some spaces.
And yeah, can you tell us about the geometric pattern on the ceiling? That sounds like a very expansive space and also a pretty bold move.
It was interesting, Philip Jeffries has this line, and interestingly enough, they had come out with this whole geometric collection that was kind of architecturally inspired. You would love this paper.
Yeah.
And it was metallic, silver and gold. But when you put it on the ceiling, it was interesting because I do think it was a vinyl. It didn't even show a seam. And it was a kind of an interesting statement that even surprised me. And it was the last decision I made on the room. You know how we're all, as designers, kind of wanting to do that one thing that seems bold. I had never really actually wallpapered the ceiling in that kind of, especially a huge room like that. But it was really successful.
That's very, very cool. And
I love a good wallpapered ceiling.
yeah,
It's the fifth wall. You know what I mean? Historically,
it's a good way to put it.
Historically, interiors, if you look at the 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th century, the most money was always spent on the ceiling. It was the largest status symbol, you know, to have Michelangelo come and paint your ceiling. And so, at the beginning of the 20th century, through the last 100 years, people kind of forgot the ceiling. So the wonder of wallpaper is you can add so much vibe to a ceiling, it's incredible. But the great thing, the other thing that I love, that not only are we seeing with wallpapers and in our generalized interiors, but also here at the show, is metallics. And it's the mix of brass and stainless, or chrome and bronze. People are mixing metals. It's following fashion. The jewelry business, the gold and silver is being mixed together quite extensively again. And we're seeing that so much here. In Matthew's fantastic line for La Cornue, he's mixed brushed brass and chrome, I think, right? And so I love it, because I love the use of metal, and I like that little bit of sparkle. You know, funnily enough, ladies and gentlemen, I do like a little sparkle.
You're kidding. You know, we mentioned briefly sort of clients and social media, and whether people are being informed by that medium, maybe they're better educated about what they like. I also think it has a bit of a flattening quality sometimes as well. You know, people sort of say the same thing repeated, and then they torture their designers by saying, I want you to replicate that. What is your dynamic, I'm asking anyone, like what is your dynamic with clients in terms of, you know, their visual references, and, you know, how do you maybe play psychologist, therapist, and get them moving in a direction that might be even more expressive of their personalities?
Alcohol and painkillers.
All right.
No, I think, you know, our job as designers is to guide the client in the right direction. Now, your job as a designer is not to impress your own taste onto somebody. It is to find their decorative dream and make it happen for them in the most tasteful way that you can. And sometimes that's a tap dance.
Right.
Sometimes we have to, you know, play around a little bit to get them there. But it's really about formulating something that is an extension of that person's personality. You really and truly, for me anyway, and anybody that's seen my book or that wants to come and buy my book at our book signing coming up very shortly.
Nicely done.
The books are, my book will show, as I think everybody's does, all these different styles. And so my book doesn't show Martyn Lawrence Bullard. It shows my clients. It shows Elton John's personality. It shows Kourtney Kardashian's personality. It shows RuPaul's personality. I design in a way that I want to expose my clients' inner decorative desires. And that to me is the greatest compliment, if you can achieve that at the end of your job.
I mean, and it's interesting with your mix of clients as well. I mean, we talk about social media and how that influences taste. Certainly, your work is going to be seen in a very specific light when, you know, Elton John or Cardi B is showing it. Whoever, Machine Gun Kelly. But Suzanne, I mean, you know, do you have an approach other than alcohol and painkillers that you bring to that you hope that you bring to your clients, or that you strive to bring to your clients?
Well, I love the collaboration, working with architects, landscape architects, and I do talk about getting the foundation right and then starting with the right architecture of a room. But I do think that as a designer, like Martyn said, I have a story out in Traditional Home right now that is blue and white flowers. And then we had a project in Malou that was very modern. What we're trying to do, if you really love design, you can pivot with your client. You can really elevate them in the way they're sharing with us what they love. And I think that's the most exciting thing, that like we have a style maybe for our own selves, but we love design because we can do so many different things and have so many different looks with our design direction.
And Matthew, when you're thinking about, I keep coming back to this idea that your work has to work in a lot of different spaces. And do you pay attention to social media ideas that are floating around out there, or where are you drawing your influence these days?
Well, I mean, I find a lot of clients go to the books and say that they like a specific project in the book, but I mean, all of us, we don't want to plagiarize ourselves, and we're not lazy. We're hard workers, and we want to invent something new. Even if somebody says they like exactly what's on page 36, we're not going to give them that. We're going to, work hard to reinvent it, almost give them something they don't even know they want. But there are clients that will send me, Instagram posts, and I challenge them back and say, what is it about that you like? And then I'm not going to, of course, do that, but I'm going to understand what it is they like about that project. And then it also helps, I'll have clients send me, they don't even know what they like about it, and then you design for them, and these are the type of clients that take 20 minutes to order off the menu, or they can't figure out what to wear in the morning. Those are just big red flags that they're never going to be happy with whatever you came up with. So it's definitely a tool. It's definitely great for exposure. It's definitely great for editing. I find the books being a tremendous tool for me.
I can see that, that sense of inventiveness being sort of central to all of your practices. Matthew, is there a type of space or a particular type of, product element that you would love to reinvent, or that you would love to get playful with?
I'm having the most fun right now designing dressing rooms. Just have one in Dallas right now that's 2,000 square feet, 2-story, and I studied design, and I thought I was going to be a retail designer, but I ended up in the kitchen and bath world, and now this is like the perfect segue to retail design, because part of the process when you're really kind of studying the client, you ask them what their favorite brands are, what their favorite stores are. So if they say that it's Fendi or Tom Ford, I'm doing a gun room right now that he says, I want a gun room that looks as if Tom Ford designed it. But these, I'm loving that part of it right now, that the dressing rooms are just over the top.
We're finding the interesting thing about design today and the architecture when we're in the beginning stages, you cannot make the closets big enough. And people are wanting to really focus on their closet. And an architect said, you start your day in your closet and you end your day in your closet. And the focus, it's been a huge change we're all seeing. And people are traveling themselves all over, so they don't want their closet to be so compartmentalized. If they want to go to Florida and they live in Denver, they want to go right now. They want all their things designed and easy to see, and they're beautiful. So the social media part of our world has been such a positive in connecting us. Sometimes it does make it look a little more glamorous, and our clients are not always understanding what it takes to get to the end.
That was a very diplomatic way of putting it. And also, we're talking about closets. Talk about influence by fashion. What makes a great closet? It seems like a pretty, pretty straightforward thing until you start digging into it. That's a fun program to work with.
Well, Matthew said they're spending as much on the closets as the kitchen.
Correct.
Even though we're here at the Kitchen and Bath Shop.
We see this all the time. I've seen more sort of bar setups integrated into the closet, espresso, like sort of fizzy water on top, that sort of thing. Like, you're going to spend a lot of time in there.
Maybe you started that trend.
I was going to say, yeah. So Martyn, you can speak to this in a...
The trend that seems to be, I don't know why people are coming to me for it, but everybody wants a sex room.
No one has come to me for that.
I'd come to you for that.
Everyone has their specialization. Well, what makes a good sex room?
Well, it used to be the glam room. Everybody wanted a glam room, to get ready in. Now they want a sex room.
What makes a good
to get unready in?
To get unready, or to get ready? What makes a good sex room?
Well, as Matthew was saying, he's doing a Tom Ford gun room. I think you said. The last one I was asked to do I was asked for it to look like a black Chanel handbag.
Okay.
So we patent leathered the walls in quilted leather and had all of the sex toys gold plated, so it looked like the hardware of the handbag.
Fantastic.
You know, just your everyday decorating job.
I'm getting
That's a whole other show, by the way.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean,
We wouldn't call that KBIS, we'd call that esteemed.
everyone's going to go to La Cornue and be like, so is this going to look good in my sex? Anyway, I'm being told we're at time. I just got a little wristwatch tap. But, you know, is there anything else that, you know, as far as trends or ideas that you're a little bit obsessed with that, you know, you think we should end on and you think other designers should be paying attention to?
Well, one thing, I think it's exciting just being here. There's so much focus on design, the innovation that's happening in all parts of our design, whether it's here at the Kitchen and Bath Show with all the technology, with even you were saying traditional wall coverings getting blown up and scaled up. I just think the innovation, the creative, I'm seeing a big creative focus, and people are really getting together and kind of having energy with each other.
That's great, yeah, and
I think the most important thing that I would say to everybody here in the design industry is don't follow the trends, make them.
there you go. Matthew, any parting words of wisdom?
That was beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's worth. Listen to Martyn. That's right. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and expertise with us. It's it was really great to pick your brains for a little bit about what you're working on, what you're interested in. We didn't cover AI, but we did get from kitchens to sex rooms. So I think we covered a lot of ground. Thanks everybody for coming.
Don't forget Albert signing.
Oh, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.